So some of the things that you've been seeing in the news recently with the people being indicted and some of those things that's going on, does that give you somewhat vindication in terms of some of the things that you see, or what's some of your thoughts on that?
I want to say that it does level the playing field, and it does let me know that the Bible says what you reap, you will sow. As a matter of fact, it's interesting, but 5 years ago when I first wrote this book, I went to the FBI office myself, and I told them that I was being blackmailed to stay in business, and I explained to them that Sheriff Gerald McFall and the office that he oversaw was corrupt, and that they actually manipulated laws, various laws, bail bond laws, so that bail bond entities and underwriters that they embrace would be able to take advantage, financial advantage of the misapplication of those unscrupulous laws. And more importantly, but alarmingly, Sheriff Gerald McFall, as well as who we know now has been convicted of corruption himself, which I told the FBI, as I said 5 years ago, he received his marching orders to unscrupulously and illicitly enforce those laws through the presiding administrative judge, which is Cuyahoga County Judge McMonagle. And so Judge McMonagle, which was the head judge of the Cuyahoga County Justice Center, and who also oversaw the bail bond administrative aspect of conducting business within the Justice Center, provided Sheriff Gerald McFall with the latitude and the leverage that he needed to engage in corrupt activities. That information I provided to the FBI 5 years ago. And as we see 5 years ago, from 2005, now we see the fruits of his corruption, where he's actually been convicted of corruption, manipulating laws, as well as, get this, soliciting within the Justice Center. So I went to the Ohio Department of Insurance and the insurance school to get my soliciting license. But however, I was soliciting legally against a sheriff that was soliciting illegally in the Justice Center. I never stood a chance. And the presiding judge, Richard McMonagle, was well aware of the corruption that the sheriff Gerald McFall was engaging in, and he allowed them to, as well as that this particular administrative judge also allowed favored bail bond agencies and underwriters and their agents to benefit from misapplication of laws that he particularly enacted to their benefit, as well as to the detriment of the individuals that were recipients of those fraudulent bail bond products, as well as to the demise of me and my agency.
Now, when you talk about bail bond products, just for a minute, what are some of those products that you refer to?
Well, when I say products, it was the manner in which they misapplied the Ohio Department of Insurance bail bond services and insurance laws to the public at large, or to the solicited individual, to the patron that came into the Justice Center. What I want to say products is that 90% of the bonds, thereabout approximately, in the Cuyahoga County, are 10% bonds, which means that the public can actually post those bonds without the services of a bail bondsman. Judge Richard McMonagle is aware of that, and so is the 50 judges that are in the Justice Centers, as well as Sheriff Gerald McFall. However, the bail bond industry in Cleveland, Ohio, had a way of getting around allowing the public to post those bonds themselves. What they did is that they put in place a credit system. And when I say credit system, they lured the public into thinking that they can get a full bond for half price. So they would say if the bond was $100, you give me $50, and I'll write the bond as if it was a full $100 legal insurance product, when in fact it wasn't, because in any insurance policy you have to pay the full amount to be the full recipient of a legal insurance policy. So the person would be lured to pay $50. The bail bond company would give them credit for $50. Now here's an issue here. The bail bond company at that particular time is acting as a banking institution. We've just enacted laws for money loaning, fast cashier facilities that there's regulations and stipulations when you enter into the banking industry. So what they've done is that they're acting as a banking facility, giving a person credit for $50. That's against the law. They aren't a banking institution. They have a license to provide insurance products. Here's the second issue is by the judges allowing bail bond agencies and companies to function as a banking institute, they don't have all of the financial collateral that's necessary to write that bond. So any judge that signs off on that bond is actually signing off on a fraudulent document. 50 of those judges were aware that every bond that they signed off on was a fraudulent bail bond product. A product that was produced in collaboration with corruption with the judges, as well as with the county and city administrative clerk of courts, as well as with Sheriff Gerald McFall. Secondly, what it does was it depleted the treasury and the tax base of Cuyahoga County. And what do I mean by that? If the patrons or the citizens or the taxpayers themselves put that bond in, should the person not go to court, they would lose those resources that they provided to get that bond through the county administrative clerk of courts. And those resources would be allocated to the tax base and the treasury of Cuyahoga County. So what they did was the bail bond industry, as well as the Ohio Department of Insurance, as well as the presiding administrative judge, Judge McMonagle of Cuyahoga County, instead of allowing that money to go to the treasury or the tax base here in Cuyahoga County, that money by a bail bondsman doing those bonds, when the person didn't go to court, the bail bond agency actually got the resources that were beneficiaries of the treasury that were being robbed from Cuyahoga County, and it was an orchestrated racket of corruption, fraud, and illicit bail bond products that could have never taken place, and it only gotten worse without the cooperation of those political figures, which I just mentioned.
Now, one of the things that, as I look through your book and I listen to you talk about these type of things, as you challenge the system, I'm sure there was pushback. I'm sure there was a response from the system to you. And tell us a little bit about that. We have about 5-6 minutes. And so tell us a little bit about what you experienced when you decided that you wasn't going to play ball.
Well, actually, I never engaged or involved in these illegal bail bond products. I tried to stay away from that element of the bail bond industry. So all my clients that I actually provided service to were on the level. They were authorized insurance accepted products, and I reaped the benefits of doing business legally and above board. And as I said, I made $200,000 up to $400,000. And what happened is that these individuals that were engaged in corruption that I just mentioned, as well as the Ohio Department of Insurance Administrative Judge Richard McMonagle, as well as as well as the Sheriff Department, what he did was the judge would allow Sheriff Gerald McFall, when I would walk in the building, because I was making this money legally, Sheriff Gerald McFall and his deputies would actually take my phone. They would say that I couldn't even, they would harass me to the point where it almost brought me to tears, but I would never let them see that they had the victory. They would harass my clients and make my clients wait outside. They would tell my client, they would even go to the length of telling my clients that I wasn't a legitimate bail bond. I remember one time that I arrested an individual that failed to make his court date. They refused to take the individual. They told me that the judge, to show you how the judges were in on this, the sheriffs told me that the judge dismissed the warrant. Now here we have a judge that gives me a legal warrant to go risk my life to go arrest a person that has missed his court date. I bring the individual in, and the sheriff just to exercise their disdain of my success, removed the warrant and released the individual right in front of my face. These were just some of the things that they did to let me know how much they were totally against me making this money. And lastly, what they did was, not just lastly, but one of quite a few things that they did. They actually went so far to arrest one of my secretaries for using a public terminal, which is the public computers in the clerk of court's office. This is a public building where the public pays taxes, and those terminals are open to the use of the public. I mean, my book goes into great detail, the lengths that they went to harass me in every imaginable and unimaginable way. So ultimately, once it was all said and done, I felt as though I needed to commit all of this to writing, and I documented it in my book.
Now, you have a book signing coming up on September 11th at 3 p.m. and tell everybody where it's going to be.
The book signing is going to be at the Salvation Army Huff branch, and that's off of 55th and Huff. The book signing will be at 3 p.m. That's going to be on September the 11th, and I would appreciate as many people that can would come, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the book. The book is actually more than just about the bail bond industry. It's about my entire life, but it'll be there at 3 p.m. on September the 11th. I'd like for everyone to tell someone else and as many people as you possibly can. 10% of the proceeds of the book will be donated to the Salvation Army in appreciation of what they're doing in our community for people that are dealing with substance abuse as well as transitional homes.
In the next minute or so, you want people to take some steps to get involved with you. So can you highlight some of those steps?
Yes, I'm attempting to initiate into legislation new bail bonds reformed in terms of what I just mentioned to you. Anyone that was affected by those fraudulent bail bond services or unscrupulous bail bond products from 2002, when you could have posted those bonds yourself, up until this present day, I'm asking that you email me at my email site is bailclassaction@sbcglobal.net. That's bailclassaction at sbcglobal.net, or you can call me at 216-249-3713. That's my home number, or 216-355-4258. I'm asking that you be reimbursed for the monies that were actually taken from you through these unscrupulous bail bond products, that compensation be given to you in terms of giving you that money back. And I'm asking that broad and sweeping insurance legislation reform with teeth be initiated, addressing concerns of antitrust, banking, racketeering, corruption, organized enterprise manipulation, money laundering, misappropriation of taxpayer funds within the bail bond industries, and the products that they provide to these targeted, unsuspected individuals.
So again, you can reach him at bailclassaction@sbcglobal.net, or you can also reach him at area code 216-249-3713, and also the cell 216-355-4258. And also remember the book signing that will take place at the Salvation Army, the Huff branch, and it will be on September 11th at 3 p.m. So we'll go out and hear more about what Ralph Watts Jr. has to say about the industry. But the book is more than just that. It's about his life and his time growing up in Cleveland. And I'm sure that you're going to learn a great deal, because the young man has poured out 846 pages of time, sweat, blood, and tears. And we want to thank him for coming into the studio. We really appreciate him coming in to share this story, that one of the untold stories. We're excited about the things that he's doing out there in the community. And we're going to see you next week on another edition of Images.
You have been listening to Images, a public affairs radio program produced by the Cleveland State University Black Studies Program and this station. The opinions expressed today were those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Cleveland State University, the Black Studies Program, or this station. If you are interested in finding out more about the Black Studies Program, call 216-687-3655 or visit our website at www.csuohio.edu/blackstudies.